Fantastic. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. I'm Emma. I'm joined again by Marcie.
Yay!
I was like,
I do it every week. I'm just like, oh, yay!
Say hi. When you're. Anyways, I don't spend too long on the intro because we have a lot to get through. It's been a busy couple of days, and I was honestly, because the Leafs only played one game, I was like expecting to not spend as much time as we're about to spend talking about the Leafs because I feel like what day was what day did the Leafs play? I feel like the Leafs game that we got on Tuesday, it was Tuesday, right? Yeah, it was Tuesday.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
There we go. Was like enough to be like we got literally everything you could possibly get in the Leafs game in one game. So we'll jump right into it. I feel like I don't even want to go chronologically like we normally do. I just want to start, like, pick a thing to talk about, and we talk about it right off the bat. Yeah. So we can either start with Gregor, Joseph Woll, or we can start with injuries.
I think if we could get injuries out of the way.
We'll get injuries out of the way. Okay, so first, in the first period, Mitch Marner takes a puck off of the jaw, off the face. He takes one, he blocks the shot right off the face, and he is so quick down the tunnel. Like, stands up and is immediately down the tunnel. And I'm thinking, oh God, we've gone from not having Mitch Marner play like Mitch Marner to not having Mitch Marner at all. And we're screwed, right? Like, we're so screwed. And then this was kind of like, I didn't notice this, and I feel like not even like the broadcast noticed this either. Was Marcie going down the top. Like, it wasn't even noticed until I think it was like a Luke Fox tweet or whatever. Like, it was a tweet from one of the Leafs beat reporters being like, Giordano has gone down the tunnel. And I'm like, what the fuck happened to Mark Giordano? And so we got news today, though, however, from Sheldon Keefe about his status. We knew it was something with the hand. Like, later in the game, they showed him blocking a shot off the hand, and we're like, oh, fuck. Because all we knew at the moment was upper body. And so Mark Giordano is now out week to week with a broken finger. And this is actually so bad. But you see Mark Giordano go out with an upper body injury, and my mind immediately goes to, holy shit, this is it for him career-wise. Like, he's done something awful to his shoulder, to his elbow, whatever, and I'm like, this is it. We're done. Right? Like, he's not right? But it's bad that it's so bad that I'm thinking, like, at least it's only a broken finger. I'm like, that's not something where it's like his age will hinder his ability to recover and come back. Like, we will see him again. Just that means, though, that our defense is looking really, really thin. Like, we have they with Liljegren out, and he won't be back. Like, he was back out on skates today at practice, and Keefe said he felt good, but did say that he's not close to return, and he's already been out for almost a month. He was, he hasn't been in a game since November 2nd with an ankle injury. Klingberg out for the season, I think, is probably it's not good. It's not good, right? Like, you know what? I think it's safe to say out for the season. If I'm wrong, again, I will take it. And then, of course, now with Giordano out, Leafs call up, it was Max Lajoie was called up to replace Giordano, which, the lines look a little funky then. You're, like, having Lagesson as, like, your second pair defenseman on the left. Is he left side? And then, but that just means, like, if we have another injury, like, even if it's something where you need, like, a D-man to, take a step out. Thank God Connor Timmins is back, because I don't know what the fuck we'd be doing without him. We'd be screwed.
Our D would literally just be
Marlies. It would be more Marlies.
It'd be the Marlies and, like, a shred of hope.
It literally, at this point, is Morgan Riley and 3 Marlies. Like, it'd be Morgan Riley, who logged over 30 minutes of ice time last game, which is his most since October 29th, 2019. And I had a look at what game that was. It was a game against the Capitals in which he logged 33 minutes and 16 seconds of ice time. And on the players of the Leafs, the players on the Leafs who were on that lineup who played in that game, there is only 4 of them who are still on the team now.
We are killing these men.
Those 4 are Morgan Rielly, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander. John Tavares didn't even play in that game. Like, you look at those, and I'm like, he's not on the team anymore. He's not on the team anymore. He's not on the team anymore. Like, it's like you go through. Anyways, Leafs lost that game in overtime. By the way, just that, yeah. But like our options now, like without some trades being done, for D-Def, if you need to call someone up because someone else gets injured, is you are not stuck with, but your options are really logistically is Topi Nyamla, William Vinev, Rafai, and then Coconut. Benoit and Lagesson have both I actually don't know much about Max Lajoie if he's gotten NHL, if he has NHL games. He has played games, but it's like, Marcie's looking it up. Thank you.
Yep, I'm on it.
But it's not a position you want to be in because, GMs are going to look at this and be one game. And
with the Leafs.
Okay. So, but it's not a position you want to be in because GMs will look at this and they will know that Brad is desperate and is willing to give up more than he should. Like, he's willing, you know what I mean? Like, it's puts the Leafs in a desperate position that I don't think you want to be this early and before the trade deadline, and like it's still technically November, not really December, but it's like not a great look. And the fact that the Leafs were playing down a defenseman definitely showed in this game. There was some times where I was like, you know what? Thank God, for Joseph Woll. Speaking of, we are wearing Joseph Woll jerseys to come around because he had a fantastic game. I think that was all I want to talk about injury-wise. I don't have anything else in my notes about injury-wise. Oh, yeah. Marner did come back to the game in the second. He missed the rest of the first period with a cage on, going full juniors. So he's good. Today in practice, though, he was wearing he had the shield back on, like the half shield, but then he had this weird fucking chin guard where I was like, at that point, just wear the full bubble, buddy. Like, commit to the full, like, Bedard at World, like, the bubble. Just commit to that because it looked stupid. And I know
it was a look.
It was a look for sure. And, like, the thing is it looked dumb because it was just a clear plastic, like, guard over the lower half of his face. And so there was a thin window for essentially his nose. And I guess maybe that will reduce it fogging up at that point. I'm like, the fuck are you doing? It looks dumb. Definitely chirpable. Like, I don't know. It reminded me of, now this is so niche because nobody really watches ski racing, but I grew up ski racing and we would have slalom gear from when we were doing the one where you hit the gates, right, and it was we had a chin guard essentially where it was like just like a metal or plastic sort of piece that goes across your face to protect you from losing teeth. And the amount of times we would sit beside our friends on the chairlifts and just shake each other's heads around by grabbing the chin bar and just like shaking everybody's heads around. I'm like, I'm willing to bet you money that I'm sure one of the guys just went up and did that. Look, I would have done it, if I was, I don't know, Nylander or fucking, I don't know, Matthews or someone just goes up to Marner and just gives him a little shake with it. Because that's what it looks like to me, and that's what I was reminded of. I was like, I would have had no self-control. Like, I would have just been like, if one of my friends showed up with that, I would have been shaking his face all around. Oh yeah. But yeah, so I mean, honestly, I have to give it to Marner for going back into the game after taking a shot off the face because, if it was, yes, he hasn't been playing well, so he obviously wants to prove himself, but like, he's making what, $11 million a year, right? Question mark?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, So, he's not really fighting for ice time, right? Like, he's not one of the guys who's fighting for ice time right now. And so it would have been within him to just sort of sit out the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But, the fact that he felt it to be like, all right, put the cage on, put me back out there, coach, and go out and play the rest of the game. Now, mind you, wasn't a great game from him the rest of the night. It was okay. Again, it's just there seems like there's something off, and you can tell, and you want there to not be something off. You're like, oh,
like he's so nearly there.
Oh my god, yeah.
But it's just like there's like something that's like stopping him, and I'm like, ugh.
And you don't know like what it is, and
No.
And it's like the same with Matthews. Matthews looked uncharacteristically like unlike him. Like he didn't really. Yeah. You're like, this isn't Austin Matthews playing, because he had that fall behind the Florida net where I was like, Matthews never does. You never see him. He's so good on his feet, and you never see him take a fall like that where he falls, like he just catches an edge and falls into the board. Yeah. Like that was so unlike him. That it's weird to watch. But I guess we can talk about, do we want to talk about goaltending or do we want to talk about goal scoring? We could talk about Woll or Gregor.
Ooh, I think we should go with Woll.
We'll go with Woll? Okay.
Yeah.
Joseph Woll has been playing on his head. He had a fantastic game against Florida. Like, he was the reason the Leafs had remotely a shot in that game. Like he kept them in it all game. He was there because the Leafs were not, and he has the stats here to back it up. He faced 39 shots, allowed 1 goal, which results in a 974 save percentage. And that means that he does get the start tonight versus Seattle, which is exciting. I have a class, so I'll be watching it in class. But, like, all of my notes are just, like, Joseph Woll in all caps.
Yeah, literally. My first note was just Woll Slade.
Woll Slade. Yeah.
And it was Woll Slade, Noah Gregor fast as fuck. Fucking shootout.
Fucking the shootout. I guess we could also talk about that as well. Like, I think Woll is play. I did also write down as well, and I did tweet this out as well, being this maybe a more of a podcast episode because it's a little bit more not that can be contained in 280 characters on Twitter. But I noticed. I don't know about you, but I noticed that Woll was playing the puck out of the net more, like he was coming out of his crease more than maybe we see from him. I don't know if it was like just a me thing or if it was like a just that one game, or if it was like I noticed it so then I noticed it more. Like, again, I don't know. I feel like that's a stat that I kind of want to have. That's such like a niche like goalie stat where it's like that doesn't matter. It's an us stat where we're like, I want just so I would have some sort of like number to be like, I want, you know what I mean, where it's like just like times he came out of his like time, like I don't know, times number of times out of crease per 6, or per game, break it down, whatever, just so I have something to compare it against. But I don't know, like it's one of those things. I'm trying to think of like any of my other, like he was fantastic in the shootout as well, solid in the shootout. I think like this is no diss against Samsonov, but I feel like if you had Samsonov in net, it would be a very different game we would be talking about. Absolutely. There was also a fun little post from the NHL regarding some NHL edge stats that came out today on Twitter. That was just that Joseph Woll has a top 3 in the league. Like he's in the 90th percentile of save percentage for mid-range shots, which I feel like there was a tweet from it wasn't this game. It was his last game against Pittsburgh, where it said he was tracking the puck more. I can't remember which beat reporter it was. I think it was probably Mark Masters. It was one of they're all at some point they all become the same. Apologies to the the Leafs beat reporter, Toronto media. At some point, you guys all become the same person. All blend together. Yeah, absolutely. We refer to them en masse. It's fine. But it's like you can see it reflected in his stats just in the way that like he's very good among those mid-range shots. Which mid-range shots is, just as a descriptor, there is a map here. It's from, just over the hash marks to like just above the face-off circles. Not the dots, but like the circles. There's probably a better technical name for that, but the big circles that are on the ice.
Big circles on the ice.
Do we want to? I guess we can talk about Gregor, and then we can also talk about the shutout and then the goal that wasn't as well.
Yes.
Noah Gregor. Look, I wasn't. Not to say I was apprehensive of the Gregor sign. I honestly was like, this is a great pickup for the Leafs. Very similar. I thought, you know what, when he was signed, and I still maintain this, is like he was a sort of Zach Aston Reese 2.0.
Yeah.
And I love Zach. I loved Zach Aston Reese with the Leafs. Wish him all the best. He's now with Detroit with their AHL affiliate in Grand Rapids. But Noah Gregor has like the speed that Pierre Engvall had. Like Pierre Engvall, Ilya Mikheyev, but like the ability to actually finish with it, because like again, no diss to Pierre Engvall. The funny thing is I haven't heard much about him out of New York. I'm like, you signed this ridiculous contract. I don't know what Lou Lamoriello was doing signing him for 7 years. But like I haven't heard much about him.
No, it's been really quiet.
Yeah, and usually we hear a lot of.
Yeah, I forgot he existed recently.
I forgot he exists. Usually we hear a lot about, especially from the Islanders, we hear a lot about former Leafs just because of, some free agency history when it comes to Toronto and the Islanders.
That could be.
Wonder who that could be. But like when Pierre Engvall was here, like he was fast, yes, but he wasn't great when the puck was on his stick. Right? Like he wasn't. But Noah Gregor, he's visibly fast, and also if you look at his stats on NHL Edge, because that's what NHL, like the speed stats, love looking at those. But yeah, like he's been, and then he's also statistically fast as well. Like if you look at his breakdown in percentiles, I'm not going to get into it because it's just a bunch of numbers, but yes, the stats back up what you can visually see about his speed, and I think it's great because the Leafs, everyone talks about how the Leafs need speed.
And he flies.
And I think he's like if you didn't watch the game, which I don't know why you didn't, it was going to be a fun matchup no matter what. Go and watch at least the highlights, or at least the Gregor goal. Like that was there was 2 goals scored in regulation during that game, so it's gonna be easy to find.
Yeah.
And just watch how quickly he gets from end to end. Well, yeah, from blue line to blue line, essentially, right?
Rocket. I can't even keep track of him.
It's like so fun to watch because when he has the puck on his stick, he makes a shot attempt, and he's gotten better. Like it's not the first time he scored like that. His first goal of the season was like that, which was the Leafs' first goal of the season, right? And so I think just like that is going to be a huge opportunity for the Leafs' fourth line, I think, to really produce some scoring. Especially just because you have 2 ends of the Leafs speed. You have Ryan Reeves, who's noticeably slow, and then you have Gregor, who's noticeably fast. And I know Reeves is not going to play every night. In fact, he's not going to play tonight. It's rumored that Bobby McMahon is going to slot in for Reeves on the 4th line tonight. Not rumored, but that is what is going to happen. If it doesn't, oops.
Oopsie.
We got that from a tweet. So but yeah, also Leafs, if we're going to talk about Noah Gregor, we have to talk about the penalty kill because he's also on that. And that was fantastic. That was so good. They were able to kill off a 4 minute 4-minute penalty kill. Like, killed it off. It was double minor. I think it was against Domi. Probably was.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it was on Domi because it was on the fucking Sam Bennett dive. It was the cross check and then it was the roughing. And I have that written down. Yeah, Domi is a double minor, cross checking and roughing. And I was like, I watched the replay. That's a cross check and roughing. Yeah. I was like, I'm so proud of myself whenever I correctly guess penalties because I'm like, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I got that right.
I know puck. But yeah, oh my God. Fucking Sam Bennett fucking dives. And look, I knew of Sam Bennett before he came to the Panthers because he went to my high school. And so there's a picture of him in our front foyer by the office because they put all of like the notable alumni in this front foyer office and they put pictures of him. So there's like pictures of Stephen Harper because he went to my high school, pictures of fucking Joey Votto. He also went to my high school. Baseball player, because Marcie's looking very confused at me right now. Played for the Cincinnati Reds. But yeah, so Sam Bennett. And so fucking and then of course plays for the Panthers, fucking concusses Matthew Nyes during the playoffs, and then dies. Like, it was like, I was like, this, it's like he's playing soccer. And I did make a joke tweet about that I think went over a lot of people's heads because the joke was like, mainly for me, I found this hilarious. I was making a jab both at him for his awful dive, and then I also was making a joke at my underfunded high school's drama department. So, and nobody knew that, like, I wasn't clear enough the fact that he went to my high school. So then people were like, but like, don't diss on the underfunded drama department. I was like, but I feel like I can diss on this underfunded drama department because it's my underfunded drama department. So if you were confused by that tweet that I put out during the game, that is the explanation. But yeah, Sam Bennett, yeah, fuck you. Fuck off. To quote Paul Maurice, fuck off.
He was so funny to watch because he was just
so entertaining. He's like, and Steve Dangle says this every time we play the Florida Panthers, and both LFR and in his podcast, he says Paul Maurice is the easiest coach to lip read because 95% of his vocabulary is fuck off, because there's a difference between saying fuck off to a ref and saying fuck you to a ref, and Sheldon Keefe should know because he got fined for that.
Yeah.
In a game one. But yeah, just I'm trying to think. Matthews had a big hit. Fucking love when Matthews remembers that he's 6'3" and 200 pounds. I hope he remembers more often.
He remembers.
Because I hope yeah, okay, top goal scorer, but he's also big.
Yeah.
And when he remembers that he's big, it benefits everyone except for the other team. Right? And not to say that he should be throwing his body around. I know increases injuries, blah, 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 blah. But I do think, hey, Austin Matthews, if you're not scoring right now because you're in a slump, maybe it would be a really, really great thing to throw more hits.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not going to impact on the score sheet, you can at least have impact positively on your team in other ways. And I think
like if he's not doing either, then he is literally just skating up and down the
ice. You're doing David Camp sorry, David Camp. I just said you're doing David Camp cardio.
Oh no!
I'm so mean sometimes. But no, really. Where has David Camp been?
Not on the ice.
Sorry, David. Yeah. Oh, okay. Again, before we talk about the shootout, fuck it, and the goal that wasn't a goal. we have now increased the Leafs' too many men penalty count to 8. I can't do this. We can't keep doing this. Okay, Sheldon, you said you're going to address it. I don't see it getting fucking addressed because we get, like, yes, that one was really, really close, but also this goes against, like, the refs as well, like NHL refs. Stop doing this. Stop, making up, like, payback call, not pay, but, like, throwing out calls just to, like, even it up. There's a word for it, and I'm blanking on it. You know what I mean? But, like, just because we made a weak call on the other team, can we not do it with bench minors, please? Because that's dumb as fuck. It's stupid. Like, people are like, oh, but, like, yes, all calls like that where, like, refs are like, well, I called this on this guy, but it wasn't really that, so now I've got to, like, even it out and call one against the other team that wasn't really like that. I get it. Like, I get we can't get rid of that from NHL reffing. Like, it's always going to be something that happens. Yeah. But can we not do it with bench minors, please? Because I think that's dumb. I think that's stupid. But, that's kind of what this one was. It was very, very close. I was like, I don't even know who was the too many man, but because it's not as obvious as the other Leafs ones that are usually like, you're like, what the fuck are you doing? This one I would be like, but it's just the fact that it's the Leafs' 8th of the season and we are 20 games in, which, they're on track for like 32, 33 on the season, which is ridiculous.
What? Fuck off.
That's a crazy amount. That is a crazy amount.
They're not even going to know they've hit 32, 33 because they can't fucking count that high. like they're still thinking, 5.
And the timing, like, couldn't be worse because Gregor gets a stick to the face, which results in a 4-minute power play for Toronto, which fucking Gregor, scores a goal, draws a 4-minute power play, like 4-minute penalty. Way to go, Noah, having the night of your life. And, with a minute left, they fucking get a bench. Like, they didn't do anything for the first 3 minutes, and now you're going to go to 4-on-4, and then you're going to go to overtime, in which it's still going to be 4-on-4, and then you're going to have to play a minute 4-on-3. I'm sitting here like, Sheldon, what the fuck are you doing? Like, at this point, it's not on them. It's on Sheldon. It's on Keith. Because I'm like, what the you can't blame the refs on this one. You have to blame someone, and, you have to blame the coach, and this is not something that Keith is going to get fired over, but it is something that I feel like I'm going to yell at him about. It's going to be something that the media is going to keep talking about. But, yeah. Joseph Woll makes an incredible save. I just have to note this because I was looking at this. I was like, this is insane. Nylander had a 2-minute and 36-second shift to end overtime. So he was on ice for the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds of overtime. Insane. But yeah, and then we go to a shootout.
I don't know how much more my heart can take.
I was like ready to yak. I was like, oh my god. So shootout, first round, nobody scores in the first round shootout. Second round of the shootout, Austin Matthews scores. Joseph Woll makes the stop. And then in the third round, I don't remember who. I was not writing down the order for this. Panthers score, and then Mitch Marner has the chance to win it. No. Mitch has the chance to win it, and he falls. It would have been storybook for him. Hasn't had a point in how many games? Is it 6, 7? It's a lot. Quite a few. It's a lot. I've stopped picking him for Tim's picks at this point because I'm like, I used to be hopeful about 3 games ago. Now I don't even bother because I'm like, that's a waste of a pick. I might as well pick Callie Yarncroke. Right?
Yeah.
And so, but he, has a chance to leaves the game, puck to the jaw, comes back with the cage, scores the game-winning goal on a shootout with the cage on. Fantastic storybook, right? And he falls, misses, and then Panthers
score.
And so then we go to, fourth round. And then it was Robertson. Robertson misses. And then Rodriguez, I don't remember his first name. Rodriguez. Rodriguez goes up, shoots, it goes in. And now this is where I have to applaud the Leafs video team. They are fantastic. They are so. I think they're still like 100, like still perfect record when it comes to their coaches challenges for the season. I believe they haven't gotten one wrong yet, which is hats off to them.
Yeah, that's good.
And I don't even know how we saw it, like, because I had to watch it, I was like this close, to my screen. I was like watching it, squinting at it in slow motion, and I was like, and then I see it when they're like, oh, there it is. And I was like, takes a look at it for double touch, and it was. We're not going to say it wasn't. It was a good call to call back the goal. And a lot of people were like, I've never seen this happen. And I don't know if this was like the TikTok algorithm, like predicting the future. Yeah. But a week ago, got a video on my TikTok For You page of the last time this happened in a game, which was Penguins versus Rangers 2014. It was like a goal. It was New York scores game winner, and then it's like not as it was not as fast as the Leafs was. Like, it was like all the players were back in the locker room, and then they called back. Penguins go on to win the game. So similar thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it was like first happened, but that was the last time it happened, and a lot of people were like, and I don't know if they were like predicting the future where I saw this, and people were like, I've never seen this happen before, and I was like, I saw a video of this a week ago.
Last week.
Like, I've seen this. I've seen the video. I know exactly when the last time this was that this happened. So yeah, and then Noah Gregor goes up.
Noah fucking Gregor.
And he goes up, and it's his first NHL shootout attempt. Like, the first time, and same spot as his goal.
It was beautiful.
Under the bar. All it was net. Beautiful. He didn't try to pull any tricks. He took the shot from like so much further back than anyone ever does in a shootout. Like, usually it's like guys are up in close and they're trying to, trick their way around the goalie. He just
went for it. And it worked.
And it was good for him. Like, again, I also have to wonder, I'm like, what was Sheldon Keefe doing? Was Noah Gregor like the first forward out of the dressing? Like, was he like the first one out, and Sheldon was like, I need a forward. And he's like, no, you're up. Like, is that how it worked? Or was it, because like, you think about who else they would have had to choose from. I don't know who else. I guess Tavares is what, like, he wasn't out. I don't know. Is he good in the shoot? I have no idea if he's good in the shootout. That's such a weird, like, we don't see a lot of those for the Leafs. We don't see a lot of shootouts, I feel like. But the thing to keep
losing in overtime.
Yeah.
So we didn't go that far.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. The Leafs won. Noah Gregor's a hero. Joseph Woll is a hero.
Oh, Joseph Woll.
Joseph Woll got the belt. A lot of people were like, oh, it should have been Noah Gregor, blah, blah, blah. I was like, doesn't matter. They both deserved it. They both deserved it.
Everyone's like, oh, Noah Gregor should have got it. It's like, without Noah Gregor, we still could have won, but without Woll, we would have lost.
Yeah. And also, you have to think about who had the belt. It was Nylander. He had the belt, and to go back to the Panthers goal, Stenlund, it was like a bad play by Nylander and Giordano that led to that situation where that goal was able to be scored. So, that's probably part of his reasons. Like, Nylander was like, Joseph, I feel bad that I led to that goal, but then you had this in it and you stood on your head. Nylander had a great post game too. Like, he's usually not a quotable guy. He dropped the F-bomb in his too. It was fantastic. clips of it everywhere. But the oops sorry, incredibly Canadian. The fucking oops sorry. I've done that too much myself. I've done that so many times myself when I don't know, been like, it's been bad. I've been at work and I've accidentally got the F-bomb to a group of like 13-year-olds. And I was like, you shouldn't be hearing me say that. But like, I know you've heard worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, the Leafs won, but the Leafs still only have 5 regulation wins in 20 games. That is the same number that the San Jose Sharks have.
I've got that written down. I've just got the number of regulation wins as a fucking Sharks, and then in brackets just 5 full stop.
But yeah, so definitely this is an issue when it comes to the fact of like Leafs next few games. I guess we can now just give them a look ahead, and then we'll go on to talking about some not as fun topics. I guess we'll put all the tough stuff in the middle. Leafs take on Boston at home. Oh no, sorry. Today they play Seattle. Joseph Woll's in net. Bobby McMahon's on the 4th line instead of Reeves. Grubauer's starting for Seattle. So Joseph Woll, stats-wise, very much the better goalie. So It will be interesting to see how this goes. You know what? I think, Joseph Woll, I think, will be the better goalie in this game. Knock on wood. But it all depends on how the rest of the team plays.
Yeah. Like he can only do so much.
Exactly. You can't. Yeah. He can't play all the positions at once. He's one person.
No.
But then in the next, like, this is where the Leafs, I'm like, here's some important things to note of the schedule. They take on Boston at home on Saturday. Big Hockey Night in Canada matchup. Eastern Conference rival. Boston is always going to be Boston for the Leafs.
Yeah.
And then they have 4 days off before they face Ottawa on the road. I'll be at that game on Thursday.
I'll be there in spirit.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We'll have a picture, and I'll send you a fun picture of me and Simon are gonna go to the game. We'll have
a little family picture.
Yeah. But yeah, so like the Leafs have like 4 days off. Yes, they're on the road. Again, Ottawa is not far from Toronto. It's like an hour flight. They are not far. But they have 4 days off. So really, like, teams should have no excuses of not being rested before facing Ottawa, because 4 days is a lot. Because then they're back at home for like a game, and then they do their New York thing, and then they're back home, and then it's a whole bunch of mess. But it's a big, so. Yeah. Anyways, that's what I have to say about the Leafs' future schedule. I'm trying to decide what we want to do. If we want to talk about Patrick Kane, or if we want to talk Corey Perry. Patrick Kane?
We'll get him out of the way.
I feel like we can be short with it. So, Patrick Kane, on Tuesday, it was announced by Elliot Freeman that the Red Wings have signed Patrick Kane to a 1-year, $2.75 million contract. Now, I have opinions on the Patrick Kane signing. So for context, Kane is returning from hip resurfacing surgery, which is the same surgery as Nicholas Backstrom, who is now not playing hockey anymore.
Yeah.
Backstrom played for like less than 50 games before after surgery, before stepping away from the game. He's not officially retired, but you can assume as much.
He might as well.
Yeah, you might as, which is awful. But for those who don't know what hip resurfacing surgery is, because you see hip and you see surgery and you think all hip surgeries are the same. No, it is not. Because there's other guys who have gotten hip surgery, Klingberg, for example, but hip resurfacing surgery, and this is from a combination of asking Google and asking my friends who are studying health science. So to put it into layman's terms for me, it is essentially a partial hip replacement. So hip replacement is your hip joint is like the socket, and then you have like the ball joint part, right? A hip surgery is you're replacing both portions of the joint, hip resurfacing surgery is you're only replacing part, like half of that. So you still have part of your original hip joint, but then the other part is like a fake hip, right? That's what it is. That's not fun. Like, hip surgery is not fun to come back from. My grandmother got it. She got hip replacement. She didn't get a hip resurfacing surgery, but it's like, you're definitely not going to see the same Patrick Kane that we saw 3 years ago. I think, statistically, his game has been on a decline for the past 3 years, so it's not even really injury related. It's just age related. I can see why a team would be inclined to sign him. Again, I have my own personal feelings on Patrick Kane personally, off the ice. And this is something where I don't want to be like Seaball holier than thou by saying I've never liked Patrick Kane and that makes me a better person than you. Like, he's always rubbed me the wrong way. I've never liked him as a player, as a person, for way before we knew anything. Like, way before anything happened with him and Chicago and a taxi driver in Buffalo. Like, I just never liked the guy. But the thing is, it's like, I took a look at Detroit's lines. It's hard to see where you would slot him in. It'll be interesting to see where they put him in the lineup, because you look at stats. I'm like, you don't want to take Sprong out of the lineup. He's been playing great. He's been putting up some great numbers. Like, maybe Fabry, maybe Rasmussen, you play with that right wing side, but like, you're not taking Sprong off of online. He was listed as a fourth line at the website I was looking at, but I don't really think he is at this point for Detroit. I'm not too familiar with their line setup, but he's not even going to join the team right away. Like, it's like, say, 10 to like a week to 10 days that he won't play games, and then then Detroit's due to go for their West Coast road trip soon. It's like, I'm like, it's whatever.
It's very like,
Detroit has to do this and to pay the $2.75 million. Like, that's not, so I guess that's probably why they made this decision. But it's just like, I'm like, I wouldn't have made the same one. Phil Kessel's out there. Everyone likes Phil Kessel more than they like Patrick Kane.
You've got more likable, less bad people options.
Yeah. Probably better locker room guy too.
Yeah. I can't imagine he's going to bring the best vibes to the locker room. I know for a fact that, like, if he just come to the team I was on, I know I wouldn't be thrilled. I'd be like, right then. Yeah. What are we going to do now?
Yeah, so again, like, I'm not going to sit here and to be like, to shame. Anyways, I'm not going to sit here and we're not going to talk in circles about this. It's just news that happened, and I'm like, we can't not talk about it. Unfortunately, I was really hoping to go this season without ever talking about Patrick Kane. Hopefully, we don't have to talk about him much more. Fingers crossed we don't have to talk about it much more. Whatever. I'm just, whatever. Moving on, though, we'll do the couple Chicago stories. So Corey Perry, now this is something we avoided talking about on Monday just because of a lack of information that came out, that we're like, it's not worth bringing up, essentially repeating what we said on last Thursday's episode. I think we just like briefly mentioned that he wasn't with the team. But Corey Perry was put on waivers to be released from contract. He cleared waivers. He's been released from his contract. That was Tuesday that they announced that. So, and then there was a press conference by Kyle Davidson. That's his last name, right? I always call him Kyle from Chicago because of that one video from the draft where there was some guy on TikTok didn't realize that he was interviewing the GM of the Chicago Blackhawks and like asked him a bunch of questions about hockey and about Connor Bedard and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my.
I fucking love that.
I always call him Kyle from Chicago because of that, but his name is not Kyle from Chicago, it's Kyle Davidson. So he stated in his press conference, which was a very tough press conference to watch, But he stated that there was an internal investigation that took place within the team, and that Corey Perry engaged in conduct that is unacceptable. Now, this is a quote directly from the statement that Chicago released as well, but it was essentially repeated in the press conference as well. Engaged in conduct that is unacceptable and in violation of both terms of his standard player's contract and the Blackhawks' internal policies. So each player has morality clauses in their contract and stuff saying, hey, this is what you can and cannot do. This is what we expect from your behavior, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Of course, Corey Perry has been away from team duty since November 22nd, which is when they were in Columbus. But now this isn't. Oh, what?
Corey Perry has released a statement in which he apologized for his recent actions. This is a
God. You're joking. You're joking. No. Hold on.
Right. Corey Perry has released a statement in which he apologized for his recent actions and says he's now taking steps to seek treatment for mental health and alcohol struggles. And then I'll read.
Hold on.
What he said. He
said, send it. Holy sh.
Sending it now. It says.
You couldn't make this up. We were literally. You can't.
There's timing on this. I would like to sincerely apologize to the entire Chicago Blackhawks organization, including ownership, management, coaches, trainers, employees, and my teammates. I would also like to apologize to my fans and my family. I am embarrassed and I have let you all down. As a result of my actions, there has been speculation and rumors. I am sickened by the impact that this has had on others, and I want to make it clear that in no way did this situation involve any of my teammates or their families. Most importantly, I want to directly apologize to those who have been negatively affected, and I am sorry for the additional impact to others it has created. My behavior was inappropriate and wrong. I have started working with experts in the mental health and substance abuse fields to discuss my struggles with alcohol, and I will take whatever steps necessary to ensure this never happens again. I hope to regain trust and respect of everyone who has believed in me throughout my career. Once again, I am deeply sorry, Corey.
You could not make this up. So just for context, that was a statement, I believe, that he posted probably to his social media accounts that then Chris Johnson has then reposted and has shared. And Marcie, smartly enough, has Chris Johnson's tweet notifications turned on. I do not. Sorry, Chris. I don't have a lot of people's tweet notifications turned on, but yeah. So ESPN reported, I guess then maybe we can delve into this as well, that ESPN report, and this was also via Frank Saravalli as well, via Daily Faceoff, reported that it was related to a drunken incident involving a team employee prior to a game in Nashville on November 17th. So then I guess it was brought to the attention of the team while they were in Columbus, and then the investigation took place. And I don't want to talk about, I don't even want to name the rumors, because everyone knows what rumors we're talking about. Yeah. They've been indirectly referenced in both Corey Perry's statement, as we've just read out, but also as well in the press conference given by Kyle Davidson. But I do, rumors aren't great. Rumors aren't fun, but it's hard for Chicago was put into a really tough place because they couldn't, there's a way of going about this. And I don't want to say, Chicago, totally, I get why people give them benefit of the doubt because of what has happened, of course, with Kyle Beach and all of that stuff. And because the Kyle, that, what was revealed during Kyle Beach and everything that came out during that whole, I don't want to say saga, but during that whole investigation event, is that they didn't take the proper HR and team, policies and follow the correct steps that they should have had when something like that came known to the team, right? They chose to sweep it under the rug and not follow the correct steps and policies to go through the HR investigation process, blah, 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 right? But now they're doing a really good, now this is the total opposite. They are following it to the letter because they want to then try and, show fans of the NHL and show fans of the team and, people who have, given, who give them, who always give them take what they do with a grain of salt, because to show hey, no, we're trying to be different than we were 13 years ago, and we are going to now take the appropriate steps so that something like that doesn't happen again. But in doing so, they had to not share anything. Like, I'm sure there was countless NDAs signed. And when an internal investigation happens, like, you can't tell anyone. The league was probably notified. We'll probably never fully find out exactly what happened. We can make inferences based on information that we do have, but it's going to be a result in a lot of speculation. And, you know, I think they were put in a really tough spot because they couldn't deny any of the rumors outright until the investigation had concluded, or they would not have done the investigation properly internally, where it has to go through all the right channels and it has to go through all the steps. And that involves not letting the public know and not letting the media know and not saying anything until they're ready to release a statement. And, you know, because if they come out and say, like, no, this didn't happen, like, you know, they can't outright say, hey, look, we're, you know, removing Corey Perry from team duties and we've asked him to stay away because we're doing an internal investigation because this happened. Because then you're running into the territory of, like, but what if it didn't?
Yeah. And then it's like you've just said he's done something that he hasn't.
Yeah.
And it causes all kinds of problems.
Exactly. So,
which,
you know,
I don't think the Blackhawks want any more of.
No. And I like, you know, because I have my own feelings again about Chicago. Like, they've never been a franchise that I've liked. For whatever reason, I just never have liked them. Even when I was a kid, like, before everything, they've just never been a franchise that I've liked. But so I have my own personal, that's not even related to anything involved with them. It's just my own personal, growing up as a hockey fan, never liked them. But I will say they handled this in the correct way.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, it's not like we should give them extra praise for doing it, because the bar is to handle things in the correct way.
Yeah.
Right? They did things the correct way. They met the bar. Good for them. Right? But it's not something where she'd be like, yay, you know, you did it. You exceeded our expectations, because our expectations for an NHL for any organization is to meet the bar of handling things correctly when something like this happens. Yeah. It's something we should hold every team in the league to, and it should be something we hold the league to as well, is doing the things correctly, because when something like this happens. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to add. That's my statement on, like, that's what I have to say, but
I feel like you've kind of summed up pretty much everything. I mean, we can talk about another thing with Chicago that happened during this was mid-game, and there's, like, Elliot Friedman. I was like, oh my god. So it was announced involving Chicago that Vancouver traded Anthony Beauvillier to Chicago for a 5th round pick in this year's draft. Anthony Beauvillier was traded to Vancouver from the New York Islanders last season in the infamous Bo Horvat trade. So just for some stats, in 22 games, Beauvillier has 2 goals, 6 assists. So for a combined 8 points. So subpar, because I think his cap hit is like 2.7 million? Yeah, and
right? Somewhere in that. Somewhere in that. But so he's had a slow start.
I had it written down, but I don't.
It's been a slow start for the season, and so this is kind of a cap dump. Oh my god, my phone's exploding. It's a part of was a whole cap dump situation it was a cap dump situation for Vancouver Canucks. I kind of I'm looking at this as sort of like a ripple effect of like the Lafferty trade, because Lafferty was a cap dump from the Leafs because of Ryan Reeves, and then it's like cap dump, still a 5th round pick. Like, it's the Vancouver Canucks get their 5th round pick back that they gave to the Leafs for Lafferty. Like, it's like, I'm like, this is, but yeah. So it's I mean, he's closer to Matt Barzal now. Like, if you want to, they're now only an hour apart by time zone instead of 3. If you want to look on the bright side, if you're, you liked those two on the same team together, I don't know.
Yeah, I was. Oh my god.
That was honestly a shock because it was so out of the blue. It was just like a Elliot Freeman tweet that drops mid 7 o'clock games, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here, Elliot?
I just sat down. I got my cup of tea. I was watching the game, and like, you know, when you're just not expecting. I saw it and I was like, is this like a fake account? Like, is someone pretending again? Because that happens a lot.
Oh, it happens all the time. There's one that does it all the time.
And I was sat and I was like, what? And like, you know, when you're just not expecting something, like, tears were in my eyes. Like, I was sat, tears left my eyes. I was just sat in my living room, just like in shock, because I was like, first off, if I was him, fifth round pick. I would.
Oh, fifth round pick would be.
Because like last season, with the Canucks, he played 33 games, and he had 9 goals, 11 assists, so like 20 points. So it's like, obviously he can be better than he is, and he's not done brilliantly this year. It's like, it's been a slow start, but this time it's late November. We're just in December. It's not the end of the world if he's not having the best start to his season. And I'm just like,
yeah, it's unfortunate. Especially just because, like, you know, the bar, I guess because of how good Vancouver has been doing this season, the bar's been raised. If it was any other recent season for Vancouver, you would look at his numbers and you'd be like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it's not something to be alarmed about. Hopefully, you want a guy to have success for sure. So, you know, hopefully, I mean, not that and Chicago, of course, also is in need of forwards right now. They've lost 2 in the span of a week for 2 different reasons. But yeah, so I guess do we want to go back to talk about the Panthers, or do we want to talk All-Star Game? I want to talk All-Star Game, and then we can finish off with some fun talking about Panthers and Senators game. I just want to talk. I said something before we started recording that I was like, I really want to say this on the podcast because it's like literally my favorite thing. So we got some news on Monday. This was like right after we had finished recording Monday's episode. Like, after we had gone back and recorded another segment to add on to the end of Monday's episode. Like, we were like, this was when we were like done recording Monday's episode. News was released that the player draft is returning to the All-Star Game. So the NHL is bringing back the player draft to the 2024 All-Star Game in Toronto. So it'll be 4 captains. They're going to stick with the 4-team format. We'll choose their teams with the help of a celebrity co-captain. Does that mean we will be seeing us? No. We wish.
Surprise!
We would be. We're your celebrity. Oh, no. Like, does that? It'd probably be like Justin Bieber. The front man from the Arkells. I forget his name. I don't really listen to the Arkells, but I don't know, Nickelback, fucking Tate McRae. If they fucking get Tate McRae,
please. No, I
would be, because imagine
the way, if they got I would
the All-Star Game before.
I would fly out. I would go bankrupt.
That would be so funny. It would be so funny because Cole Sillinger would not be making the All-Star Game, but Tate McRae would be there.
Oh, that'd be
my favorite. I want to show this off about Tate McRae. Love her. Like, it's so funny though because her song is now becoming like one of the songs of choice going into commercial breaks for Sportsnet. Like, they'll play her song "Greedy," right? Like, it's become kind of like one of the songs that they'll play on the broadcast before going into commercial. I think that's so funny because you date an NHLer, you put out one hockey themed music video, and you become bigger in the hockey space than he does, to the point that when you release the track list of your album, there's a song called Messier, and people think you're talking about Mark Messier. Now, if the song is actually about Mark Messier and like the Oilers, like the 80s Oilers.
That'd be everything.
She is my hero. That is my anthem.
Yes. Oh my god, that'd be everything.
That'd be oh my god, but I think it would be so. Whoever NHL, whoever decides these things for the All-Star game, I'm assuming it's not fully on the Leafs. I think it's probably the NHL. Invite Tate McRae. Do it. Please. I beg of you.
If they want to grow the game, this is how you do it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Viewership, if you want to boost the viewership numbers for the All-Star game, All-Star weekend, because last year I think the numbers were like an all-time low because, oh my god, last year it was painful to watch sometimes. They had become too much of a show and less of like, hey, it's a celebration of all the really good players we have in the league. But yeah, invite her. Do it. So there were also on the Thursday, this is all the Thursday, they've outlined the Thursday events. There will also be an NHL Alumni Award to honor the 1967 Toronto Maple Leafs, which feels like the world's biggest setup. I get it, you're in Toronto and you want to do something that honor, Leafs, talks about Leafs history, but you're gonna do this where you're gonna set everyone Leafs not winning a cup since 1967 is everyone's go-to, like, is the number one joke that gets made among NHL, like among hockey fans. I'm sick of hearing it. I know we haven't won one in my life. I know. I'm well aware. All Leafs fans are well aware. Can we stop setting us up for failure with this? Because you're like honoring the 67 Leafs. And there's going to just be a bunch of people being like, I can't believe there's players still alive who were on the 67 Leafs. Shut up! Shut up! I will go full Steve Dangle on this topic. I will start yelling. Also on Thursday, there will be a PWHL 3-on-3 game between Toronto and Boston. I think, honestly, 3-on-3 game. I honestly think it just should have been a full game.
Yeah.
I think it should have been a full game. Anyway, that's just because I'm like, okay, it's a 3-on-3 game. Make it a full game.
Give it, like, you're doing all this for the NHL. One full game for women is not going to kill you.
I get it's it's a showcase thing, whatever. It's Toronto versus Boston, fun, big rivalry for Toronto versus Boston, rah, rah, rah. Can you tell I'm so sick of it? Can you tell how, oh my god. I get so, oh my god, I get so negative about this team sometimes. But I think the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that they're bringing back the player draft. It's spawned hilarious moments, infamous moments, such as in 2011 when Ovechkin wanted to get picked last because he wanted the car, and he had a little sign that was like, pick me last, I want the car, and then he gets picked first and he's upset about it, and then in the same draft Phil Kessel gets picked last, and he was such a good sport about it. He was sitting there smiling by himself, but it was like, oh, Phil.
Love Phil.
Love Phil. I've always been a Phil Kessel girl. Always. There was a guy I went to elementary school with who was a FNF fan. I was proud Phil Kessel supporter when he was with the Leafs, and still even now when he was with Pittsburgh, and then I still am. I had him drafted on my fantasy team until he it was known that he wasn't going to get re-signed, and I had to drop him for someone who was actually going to win me points. So I'm still very strong Phil Kessel girl. Marcie knows because how much I talk about Phil Kessel.
It's like anytime anything happens, it's just you just somehow just weasel him in.
Yes. Another thing I want, I guess one thing I want, I love that they're kind of sort of revamping the All-Star game, bringing back some things that were much loved by fans. Fans loved the player draft, right? It was great. It was so much fun. I'm sure the players loved it too. But I want to bring back the goalie skating, like the fastest skater challenge. I know we have, McDavid is fast. Who are some other fast good guys? Is Cale Makar's fast, right? Am I just imagining that? Is he fast?
No, he's fast.
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember him falling last.
That's because I was thinking. I was like, that's the reason I know he's fast, because he
fell last year. That's embarrassing. But
I'd immediately announce my
retirement. I want some goalie speeds. I want to know which goalie is the fastest skater. Full gear. I want, that's what people will watch. We've watched them all skate. We've watched the players skate around in circles before. Blah 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 blah. I want to watch the goalies have a go. Race some goalies. I want to know out of Shesterkin and Sorokin and Vasilevsky and Demko will probably go from the West Coast, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Aiden Hill. Who are the fastest out of them? Full gear. Have them do a shortened lap because skating in goalie gear is hard. We've all watched the videos of the bag skates coming from NHL teams. We've all seen those.
I can really imagine how hard it is to skate in goalie gear because I'm a field hockey goalie, mm-hmm. and I hate running in that. Never mind skating, because it's even heavier, obviously, with ice hockey. So it's I don't even like running from my goal to the halfway line during halftime. That's bad enough. So it's I want to know who's a fast skater out the goals.
Well, because think of all the things that we had last year that I'm you wouldn't do in Toronto, the golf one, because all the golf courses in Toronto are closed in the middle of February. So they wouldn't do that for the Chipotle gift card that Nick Suzuki can't even use in Montreal because there's no fucking Chipotles in Quebec. Oh, that was so funny. But it's you wouldn't do the dunk tank either because it's Toronto in February. Would you like to give players hypothermia as
much in the ice block?
Yeah, freeze. So yeah, do some goalie speed skating. Yeah. I think I wanted to talk about just some random fun stories because I know this was. I have a couple. Oh, you wanted to talk about Buffalo as well. I feel like this one's going to be a longer one. Oops. I've been trying to.
This is my Steve Dangle moment.
I had my Steve Dangle moment earlier. This is all yours.
This is my Steve Dangle moment. If I didn't have a sore throat and if I wasn't a bit ill at the moment, I would be frying my voice like he does when he yells. Because guess what? I was right. The other day, the Buffalo Sabres sent Devon Levi down to the AHL. And surprise, it's working well for everyone. Absolute shock. Who would have thought that
Not
doing
me.
the right thing?
Who would have thought? Not that one, that Paul Rudd,
just because everyone knows Devon Levi's not had the best season so far. He's played 9. He's got 876 save percent. That's not what you want to see. He's averaging 3.74 goals against. Not ideal. And it's this is gonna work out well for everyone, and Levi's gonna get time to develop. He's gonna get time to work on his game, and he met me earlier yesterday at some point, and he said, "I'm here to win games. I'm here to play my best and have some fun doing it." He's not mad about it. He's taking it as a positive thing because it is. And he's going into it with the right mindset. He's not going into it thinking, oh, they've sent me down because they think I'm shit. He's going, they've sent me down because they know that he needs to develop. And he as said before, like, he just wants to play. He doesn't care where he's playing. He just wants to play because he loves the game. And it's like he's gonna get the chance to play because they've said he's gonna start one of the next 2 games. He's getting the playing time. He's getting the time and the space and like the facilities to develop his game, because let's face it, with the Sabres he was getting starts and he was getting playtime, but he wasn't doing well and it wasn't doing him any good. And like, because they were starting him so much, the team was suffering because they were losing. And you also, like, Luukkonen and Comrie were suffering because they weren't like, Luukkonen was getting scratched like pretty much every game, and it was miserable to watch because it's like you're putting a goalie who's developed to the point where he's ready and he's got the ability and he can do it. You're putting him on the sidelines and you're essentially screwing him over. So now he gets time to play. He gets to like show how good he is, because he is really good, and it gives him and Comrie a chance to work together. And it shows already, like, now Luukkonen's getting my playing time. I don't know if people have probably noticed by now, I am a very, very big Luukkonen fan. Surprise, shocker. Never would have known. Yeah, and it's like, in the game against the New York Rangers, the last time has stopped being time for me. I don't know when anything happened. He made an absolutely insane stick save. It was incredible. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was holy fucking shit. Like, no one thought he was going to save it. He did. And it's just like, this is what happens when you play your good goalies. This is what happens when you give your good goalies time to show people that they are good. I'm just, it was brilliant. Yeah. And I've got here, since the 11th of November, Luukkonen leads goalies in save percentage with like at least 3 games played. He's got a 942. Like, look at him go. In his last 5 games, he's faced 137 shots and saved 129 of them. He's won his last 3. Well, in his last 5 games, he's won 3, lost 1, and I think he just went on at some point for someone. I can't remember. The games just kind of like merge into one for me.
Absolutely. But
it's a long season already.
Mm-hmm.
So so like, as I said, he's got a 942 save percentage. He's averaging, like, he's showing that he's a good goalie. And I'm so happy that I've seen so many people on Twitter in the last few days go like, oh yeah, I always knew Luukkonen was going to be good. Oh, look, he's like showing. And I'm like, oh, did you? Because I remember what you said.
Like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. I do not forget. I have not forgotten. Yeah. Like, I've fucking I'm just gonna like bring out this like binder of just like printed out tweets, and I'm like, on this day you said this.
Bring out the receipt. Yeah. No, it's great, Buffalo, it's great for them for their goaltending, because I think especially like they've had those 2 guys specifically, Levi and Luukkonen, like, were both like really, really big prospects for Buffalo coming up through their pipeline as well. While we're on the topic of Buffalo, Hockey Canada wants Zach Benson for the World Juniors this year, but Kevin Adams wants to wait to see how it plays out and wants to do what's best for Benson and the organization. So maybe we are seeing Zach Benson at World Juniors. Maybe we won't be. Maybe he'll be with the Sabres. Both are exciting, I feel like. But yeah, so definitely, like, when we get the full rosters for World Juniors, I think we'll probably do just a look at who's going, that sort of thing, and as a kind of a primer, and maybe that will be a fun little Christmas gift for you guys. Because World Juniors are always fun to watch every year. I definitely enjoy them, watching them for sure. Especially last year. Having Connor Bedard play for your country is a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, my memory of World Juniors last year, I sat in my grandma's kitchen watching the final.
Oh.
And she was like walking around, like she was just like popping in and just like, oh, what's going on? And I was like, because she doesn't watch hockey. She wants to. I'm getting fun, but and then I was like, right, come watch. And her first experience with hockey was watching Connor Bedard
and
do what he does best.
Was so stressed. Oh my god. Like I was in, again, I say this every time I talk about that gold medal game. I was in a bowling alley in Owen Sound, Ontario, home of the Owen Sound Attack, which is where Nick Suzuki, I think, actually played some of his junior career. I believe, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, so don't quote me on that.
I'll quote you on it though.
Great. Can't wait to start racking up the clips of things where like Emma's a fucking idiot on the podcast. Emma says shit on the podcast every time. Every time I say shit. But yeah, and like, oh my god, like we were watching it, like everyone was staring around this like TV that just got put in that day, and we're all watching the game, and oh my god, it was exciting. It was so exciting. But yeah, love the World Juniors every year. Some other fun little tidbits I have to add. Oilers seem to be on the up and up. They won in a game that looked like they weren't going to win it for a second against Vegas Golden Knights. But fun news out of that, to keep some track of some notable bottom line Blorbos, Leafs legends Michael Amadio and Ben Hutton both scored goals. Look at that. Ben Hutton, who's my favorite play for when it is like Leafs and Kings, I think is the two teams he spent the least amount of time with in his career. And those are two, like when it's like Leafs and Kings, I always play Ben Hutton. Played 4 games with the Leafs. Leafs legend. Stanley Cup winner. Former teammate of Phil Kessel. Yeah.
Retire.
But then also released, I just have to throw this out quickly, like 30 minutes ago, the PWHL dropped their full schedule. Some notes. First game of the series will be on New Year's Day. Will be a matchup between New York and Toronto at like 12:30 in the afternoon. I will not be watching because one, it's the day after, it's New Year's Day, which a game at 12:30 on New Year's Day is like playing a game at 8 a.m. for people to watch it. Also, I'll probably be skiing because, yeah. But some other things to note, there's quite a few games that don't have like confirmed locations yet. Like there's, teams have their home rinks, whatever, but like the first one is in February, on February 27th, Toronto at Minnesota, the location to be announced. There's quite a few through the there's a couple through the month of March. Boston has a game where the location is to be announced, Montreal. And then there's quite a few through the month, through April, May. Minnesota at Ottawa. And I think that probably has to do with potentially playoffs for OWHL, because notably Ottawa is playing at TD Place, which is where the Ottawa 67s play. OWHL team, as took me forever to get that last time I talked about it. But I think it's also because that rink gets also turned into basketball courts and is also an event space. Again, I don't know where they'll play otherwise. However, though, I'd have to probably cross-reference with some Senator schedules, but like there's not a lot of hockey rinks that could host to that capacity, to like any sort of considerable capacity amount in Ottawa besides TD Place. Like, so you have, just as someone who lives in Ottawa, I can provide a perspective on this. You have the NHL rink, which is out in Canada for the Sens. You have TD Place, which is your OWHL rink, and then you have there's university rinks, but they're not like Ottawa's University of Ottawa. Their rink isn't huge. It's like not even proper assigned seats. It's like bleachers on one side of the ice, like your it's not a big rink. You like, yes, the ice is a big enough size, but like to get fans in there, you're not getting a lot of fans in there. I'm not really familiar with what Carleton's rink looks like. That's definitely something where I'll do some research, aka ask my boyfriend, and I'll ask Simon. He'll probably know, but or I'll just look up pictures. But yeah, so it's something to keep a note that just was announced while we were recording that I was checking and just saw on Twitter. But yeah, I think that's everything. This was definitely a longer episode from us. Yeah. Oh, we never talked about Panthers in Ottawa. We never talked about Tkachuk brother matchup. Panthers won 5-0. It was physical. I think the funniest part of that was like there was a point with like 7 minutes left in the third where there was an on ice scrum and a 10-minute misconduct was given for every player on the ice. The call was great because the ref was doing it was like it was whatever number for Ottawa roughing, whatever number for Florida roughing, and then 10-minute misconduct for every player on the ice, and then he does the like the hand gesture, which is the hands on the hips, right? And I was like, that it's a great call. I've never seen that before. Like people are like, oh, I've seen that, whatever, but I'm like, that's not like you never see that where it's every player on the ice, and then they show the benches. There's like 7 players, and they show a clip of Paul Maurice counting how many players he has left on the bench, and I think that's hilarious. I saw an article where there was like, there's a player for the Panthers that I get, third, fourth line guy who, doesn't get a lot of opportunities on like the penalty, like on the power play unit. And I guess the Panthers were going to a power play, and he just like looks up at Paul Maurice as to say of like, can I go? Can I get on the power play because no one else is here?
It's my turn, Dad. It's my turn.
Can I have a go? But it doesn't actually this was actually, and then the Tkachuk, like the whole Tkachuk family was there. Like they had their grandmother there. The grandmother with like their parents, both Keith and Chantal were there.
She was
and they left 6 minutes left in the game because they left. Which I don't blame them for. I don't blame them for leaving, because do you know how hard it is to get? It is so hard to get out of the parking lot of the Canadian Tire Center. It takes you like 30 minutes after a game to get out of the Canadian Tire Center.
God.
I've done it. It takes forever. I'm not looking forward to having to do it next week on Thursday. There will still be an episode on Thursday because we'll just record it earlier in the day and then post it, and then you guys can have it. But yeah, it was a combined 167 penalty minutes, which, oh my God, this was great. And the post, I was doing a little bit of digging, just to try and find some quotes and whatever, because, but post game, Paul Maurice called the game mild and said, in order for it to be considered like squirrely and a little bit, penalty heavy, he's saying you have to get sort of up into the 250 sort of penalty minute mark. I was like, okay, this is like, again, this is Paul Maurice, whose whole way that he coaches teams is to just take penalty, like, you know what I mean? Like, just go out there and be like,
Yeah, be aggressive.
Be aggressive, right? Like, he did it with the Leafs, and he's done it with Winnipeg. He's doing it now with Florida. But yeah, and it's not the single game record. The single game record is 419 penalty minutes, which again was an Ottawa game. It was Ottawa versus the Flyers in Philadelphia, March 5th, 2004. So that's my fun little talk about.
It's a little fun.
It was a fun little, like, I feel like that was such a fun game to watch if you lived in the Ottawa region, because it was a Geolot. I don't think everyone could watch it or something like I think it was a TSN broadcast, so not everyone could watch it on cable, of course. But yeah, I think that was everything we wanted to talk about. This was definitely a longer episode. We had a lot to get through. It was a really big, I feel like if, the Leafs game wasn't the Leafs game. What?
Very quick little happy, because I like my little happy ending stories. Eric Comrie's a girl dad.
Oh my God, yes. Congratulations to Eric Comrie with the birth of his daughter, Capri.
It was announced yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday I think it was, because it made it, I made it into a certain part of my notes, but yeah.
Yeah, and I've just got it like, Eric Comrie girl dad.
Yeah, congratulations.
Just a little happy ending.
Yeah. So that's it. Thank you for sticking around for a longer one. You know what? If the Leafs game wasn't like 3 games in one, where we literally got everything that ever happens in a Leafs game happen, I feel like it would have been a little bit of a shorter episode. We wouldn't have spent so much time talking about the Leafs. But thank you again for listening. Thank you again for joining, and we will see you on Monday. Like we are pretty much every week. It's Monday and Thursday. Enjoy the Leafs game tonight as they take on the Seattle Kraken.
3 hours.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been nice knowing you.
It's been nice. This is From the Fourth Line. You can follow the show on Twitter and you can follow both of us on Twitter as well. Those are always in the show notes. And now we also are everywhere you get your podcasts. Literally, we are now, as of this week, we are on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts now. There's a lovely link tree in our Twitter bio that I will also find a way to put into the show notes, where you can find literally everywhere to find us. It's really great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.